Working at Google is the ultimate dream job for any technology-obsessed person. The company has been promoting its amazing work culture and office for years and years, so it's no surprise that they have a large and dedicated workforce. But now, the company may be changing its tune. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how Google has recently threatened to lay off its employees. First up, the ultimatum. According to the story done by Insider, Google may be considering laying off people. Employees have to meet expectations or risk losing their job. In a meeting with the Google Cloud Sales Department, the staff were warned that their jobs might not be as safe as they think. The company is insisting that it does not want to fire people unjustly. The simple fact is that they don't have the productivity they should. The number of people employed must reflect the amount of work that's accomplished in a quarter, and so far, the numbers have been disappointing. Executives warned that unless their performance picks up in the third quarter of the year, they can wave their jobs goodbye. For now, the overall productivity of the department and the sales are being closely monitored. After thorough examination over the next few months, the company will decide who stays and who walks the plank. In their own words, unless the situation improves, there will be blood on the streets. The idea of losing your hard-earned job sounds genuinely terrifying. We wish the Google Cloud sales team all the best for now. Okay, but does Google have an excuse? Obviously, the tech giant was asked to explain itself. Google's CEO Sundar Pichai came to the company's defense. He said that the move is strictly to counter the insecurity of the future. As the economy takes a turn for the worse, it's important that companies find some way to boost their productivity and cut costs. The best way to cut costs? To lay off employees, of course. The CEO had an all-hands-on-deck meeting last month where he explained the future of the company. Employees need to get more work done in less time and be more focused than ever if they are to beat the economic recession. They need to find a way to get results faster or else they'll be shown the door. He announced that the company is tightening its belt and is going to be making some tough decisions in the upcoming quarter. For him, the uncertainty presented by the macro-level environment is dire enough to turn the gun on his own employees. Right after this announcement, Google put into effect a 2-week hiring freeze across all departments. Hopeful employees hoped that the worst was over, but it seems it wasn't. Stopping hiring was only part of the solution. The next step is reducing the current workforce. Looks like Google employees have the noose tightening around their neck as we speak. Alright, what's causing the layoff though? Okay, but what's the emergency? Well, the economy often has busts and booms. The right companies know when it's time to spend and when it's time to pump the brakes. For the past decade, companies have been spending without care, hiring as many people as they want, buying expensive real estate, and throwing parties to improve the work culture. Well, everything has consequences. COVID has affected the world in a lot of ways, but one of the most important effects is a worldwide recession. In this scenario, all companies are trying to reevaluate their priorities. An unfortunate consequence of that is that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs for now. As investors push tech companies to take initiative and build new models to survive the coming years, many of them are forced to lay off thousands of employees in one day. These investors are veterans that have survived the 2008 crash and are doing their best to make sure the entire company does not shut down over the years. In the previous years, companies hired people that they had no immediate need for. This was done to make sure their competitors did not hire talented people that could be an asset here. However, given the circumstances now, they're forced to reduce their fat. Next, who else has been hit so far? While the recession is affecting other industries much more, the tech sector is also suffering. Though tech giants are more secure about their future, it's the small and middle-level companies that have been hit the hardest. Many startups have closed overseas operations as funding is drying up or closed down completely. Tech giants like Meta, Twitter, and Intel have also taken measures similar to Google. All three companies implemented a hiring freeze for the rest of the year. Sorry guys, the doors are closed for now. Meta has issued a similar warning to its employees as well. Twitter recently took back a job offer to a man in Palo Alto, citing a company-wide hiring freeze as the reason. Also, Twitter has been in a difficult situation since Elon Musk backed out of a $44 million deal to buy the company, and the social media site is currently in a tense legal battle to make sure the deal goes through. You go get him, Tiger. Speaking of Elon, he also tweeted that he will reduce his workforce in another tweet, though he quickly took it back after he was criticized online. Netflix, OnlyFans, Microsoft, and Vimeo have already started laying off employees as well. And speaking of Netflix, the streaming service giant has already taken the controversial decision to raise its subscription cost as well. The future may be uncertain right now, but it's clear the tech companies aren't willing to take any chances. But wait, is all of this fair? In terms of fairness, this is a pretty sticky situation. Obviously, laying off loyal and hardworking employees the minute things take a turn for the worst is not the best way to go. But businesses never cared for ethics, have they? We're sure this is not the only way they're cutting costs, but this seems to be the first move to make. For those that aren't firing employees outright, a hiring freeze or taking back offers is still very much happening. In a capitalist world, it's clear that workers are the first to suffer in any economic crisis. And honestly, it's really sad. That should be the last option to be considered because real people with families and lives are involved. Let's hope things get better soon and companies start treating their employees like human beings instead of machines to take advantage of and throw away when not needed. Next, in other news, an Australian court finds Google not guilty of defamation. The decision comes after years of legal struggles between Google and lawyer George Defteros. The trouble started with a 2004 news article that suggested that Defteros had crossed legal boundaries while defending clients. He had become a confidant to them. Defteros found the article in a 2016 Google search, and 150 people had already read it. He sued Google for housing the article and defaming him. The Australian court initially found Google guilty, but the company immediately filed an appeal. Now, the top court of the country found that Google had no liability in the defamation at all. It doesn't intentionally choose the articles that pop up when you search. The algorithm is not a person, and the company does not own the internet. This brings clarity to the otherwise vague rules in Australia about online defamation. Second, family got lost in the woods for 48 hours by following Google Maps. Although Google Maps is a powerful tool, the technology is far from flawless. A family of 4 left from Queensland to go to Adelaide. The family relied on Google Maps to give them directions. The algorithm, however, prefers the shortest route over the safest route, even when that's not the best choice. The app led them off the highway and onto a dirt track. Their car got stuck there, and eventually they lost cell signals and were stuck in the middle of nowhere. Authorities have issued a warning to not follow Google Maps blindly. If the app is taking the driver on an unfamiliar or beaten track, it's best to stick to the safer route, even if it increases the expected time of travel. Finally, fire in Council Bluffs data center. Boy, it seems like Google is going through a lot. Layoffs, lawsuits, algorithm faults, and now explosions. Could it be any more chaotic? Last week, more than 40,000 users in the US were not able to access the Google search function or use Google Maps. Reports started pouring in around 9 p.m. and continued for 4 hours at least. Google acknowledged the blackout and said it was due to an internal issue. Details are still scarce over what the issue is. They said it's due to an issue with the software, but netizens believe the issue is something else entirely. Right around the time of the blackout, a massive fire broke out in one of Google's data centers. Council Bluffs data center is the biggest of Google's 14 data centers. The fire was the result of an explosion in the center that injured 3 employees. They are currently in stable condition, but still in the hospital. Google says the 2 events are unrelated, but people believe that the company doesn't want to admit such a huge blunder. Honestly, we smell a cover-up. What do you think? That's it for today. Do you think it's fair to fire the employees? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back soon with another entertaining video.